Please welcome to the stage the leader who had the vision to create the SUU Entrepreneur Leadership Council and its accompanying Entrepreneur Speaker Series, Southern Utah native, parallel entrepreneur, author, and chair of the SUU Board of Trustees, Rich Christensen.
Thank you. It's a delight to be with you today, and it's my privilege to introduce to you our keynote speaker as part of the executive lecture series, Carine Clark. Carine is an amazing individual that I've known for about 30 years now. And if I was to use any words to describe Carine, it would be a fierce protector of the underdog. Several years ago, we had a number of our students go up to Silicon Slopes, and Carine was kind enough to take a group photo with them and dub them, "You're my peeps." And so I've now taken the liberty of calling Carine one of our peeps. She has a very storied career. She's the 3-time president and CEO of high growth companies. She specializes in scaling companies from $10 million to $100 million. She is a survivor of cancer, and her personal mantra is courage over comfort. I've seen her time and again use this mantra through her life in not only her own life, but how she leads. She's incredibly good at unifying and creating cultures where people really produce very highly. She's also presently on the boards of Silicon Slopes as well as on GoEd. So it's my privilege to welcome Carine to the stage. Normally we do this at the end of the lecture series, but we have an important meeting we need to run to, and so I'd like to give Carine our formal award of the executive lecture series, and thank you so much for being with us.
You too can have one of these. You're gonna have to hold it for me though.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that nice introduction. So thank you for having me today. I want you to know there are a bunch of students on the other end of this campus that I'm actually going to be talking to. But I'm glad that y'all are here because I've actually prepared stuff for you. The interesting thing is that when they asked me to speak, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm happy to, because I've been to the Rural Summit a number of times. And last night, Rich said, so as our keynote, I was like, whoa, I was supposed to be the girl between lunch. Like, I didn't know I was the keynote. So we're going to have a bit of fun. We are all born with so much potential. Every one of us, my students, all born with so much potential. And things happen to us along the way where we start to limit that potential. And we start to have a cloudy lens about how we look at things. We suffer from finite thinking sometimes, where not only do we know the question that you're already going to ask me, but I already know the answer. We don't listen. We're not open to the universe of possibilities. And that limits us from how we get things done. It limits us from how we innovate. So as a proud entrepreneur, I love that my fellow entrepreneurs like to break things up. They like to do things differently. They see the world differently. And for us, we need to embrace that. The theme of our conference is resilience. And at my house, I have 2 sons that I'm raising, and I'm raising them to believe that women are magical, which, thank you, you're welcome. And I'm raising my husband as well, so I call them my 3 sons. And we have a mantra that we call SEAL Team Clark. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome. Because if I can get those boys to understand not only what it means to be resilient, but to be self-healing, then they will do great. Because see, as Rich mentioned, I'm a cancer survivor, so I already know that I'm gonna die. And that's a gift to me because I know that I have to build a team of people that work beautifully without me. And I feel the same way about my students. Now, what if we decided there was something actually better than being resilient? That there was something on the spectrum that we have that's even better than being resilient. So there's a famous, he's an options trader, but he's also a philosopher, named Nassim Taleb. It's a little heady to read his work, but he talks about on the spectrum, there's fragile, there's resilient, which he calls robust, and there's anti-fragile, because there's no real opposite of fragile. So I'm going to talk to you today about what it means to not only be resilient, but to be anti-fragile. You already do things today that are helping you be anti-fragile. Anti-fragile means that you benefit from disruption, that you're stronger than just resilient. You're not bouncing back to where you were, you're bouncing back to something better. You already do this, you already have this. Your immune system can be anti-fragile because when exposed to different antibodies, it becomes stronger. That's why years ago when people were like, let's not let our children play outside, let's not let them eat dirt, let's keep them super clean, those kids suffered. They weren't strong enough. Peanut allergies. There was a research done in 2015 from the LEAP group. Why are there more kids with peanut allergies today? Is it just because we have a way to test them? No. There are actually more kids with peanut allergies because years ago, horrible thing happened. A child died from anaphylactic shock. So we decided, let's never expose children to peanuts. My son's private school, there's no peanut butter sandwiches. It's forbidden. I'm like, how many kids do we have with peanut allergies? They're like, oh yeah, not that many. I'm like, would we have any? No. What happened, the kids started to develop peanut allergies because it turns out you need to be exposed and have tasted peanuts to be able to build a resistance to peanut allergies. So we do things that we think are making us stronger, but actually making us weaker. When you go to the gym, you want to be stronger. I promise that you don't go there and lift a 1 pound weight 100 times, right? Doesn't make you stronger. But if you bench press 100 pounds, next time you can bench 105 and then 110, and then you could because you're getting stronger because of the disruption. Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is taking your body and saying, we're not going to eat, so putting it in a hardship phase. And then you're going to eat at certain times. It helps your insulin, balance your insulin levels, so that's anti-fragile. And then running. Running is an anti-fragile activity because the more you do it, the faster you get, the better you get, but you're putting stress on your body. So years ago, I did the Salt Lake half marathon. I'm a walker, so don't be impressed, but I did finish it in 6 hours and 32 minutes, faster than some of the runners. But I was so worried about not finishing it because I didn't want to be in a coma, so I trained really rigorously. And this is when the marathon was in June, so it was really hot. And I didn't miss a training mile. I followed it religiously. So when I crossed that finish line, I wasn't sore that day or the next day. I wasn't tired. I had no blisters, but I ate an orange, skin and all. I was starving because fuel was my issue, because I had trained, because I was anti-fragile. So if you think about it, it's more than resilient. It's how can we unlock the power in all of us, our teams, our students, the state, to be anti-fragile. What are things that we can do? So too many times we pave the jungle for our kids, right? We don't want you to have to suffer. We don't want you to have to struggle. We want to make it easy. I'm going to take obstacles out of your way. So I have 2 sons that I love and adore that I'm going to make sure become great humans. But I travel a ton in my career. So 3 million miler on Delta. Just to help you translate that, that's over 120 times around the world. It's awful, but I'm old, so I've done it a lot. And when I would travel, I decided I want to be a really good mom. So I would call my sons, no matter where I was in the world, every day to wake them up. Because I'm a good mom, every day. I'm in Malaysia. I'm in a place where there's not even phones, and I'm getting a hold of those boys. Time to get up, gentlemen. You need to get to school. Make sure you get your bed made. Go to breakfast. Like, I give them all their instructions. Thought I was doing a good job. I was enabling these boys to be weak because I'm saying to them, I don't think you can do it. And I'm going to coddle them all through their day. What I was creating were like grown men that can't get up. So their wives someday were going to call me and be like, seriously? Seriously? I got to call him to get him up every day, right? So what I thought was doing something nice turns out doing the wrong thing. So I look back at my past. I was raised by mass murderers, right? Because they didn't care if we got to school on time because it was our problem. So I was in Germany in high school, the end of the Cold War. My father is a commander, a combat guy, trying to protect us against the Russian nukes. Like, he doesn't care if I'm getting up on time. And what they said to us was, the bus leaves at 0700. If you're not on it, you walk to school. My bus ride was 45 minutes. Like, it never occurred to me that I could never actually walk that. But all 4 kids, we never missed the bus one time. Like, we could do it. We were tough. And the colonel raised 4 tough kids who can handle just about anything. We were anti-fragile. We didn't know it. We didn't know it. And then my response to that is, oh, I'm going to pave the jungle for my children. I'm going to put little steps so they know exactly where to go. It turns out real learning happens in the wild. Real learning happens when you have to struggle and figure it out. When you learn to speak, your parents just kind of like, you'll figure it out, right? There's not like a program for infants to teach them grammar and phonetics. No, you just learn to speak. And children, adults, we learn better when we have to figure it out. And you're going to have times when you have to have that determination and that grit. When I was diagnosed with cancer, they said you have a 20% chance of beating it. And I was like, that is a terrible number. Like, I'm not a gambler, but that's not really good odds. But my response was, how am I going to be part of that 20% of the new 21? Because my parents had instilled in us that anti-fragile determination, guts, tenacity. Too many times we are trying to do things that help people, but ends up hurting people. So we got to push each other. We got to push our students. We got to not answer questions for them when they ask us, because guess what? They can figure it out. They know how to do things. And my much maligned millennials, they're going to be great at this because they're not afraid to fail. They're not afraid to figure it out. We just got to kick them in the butt a little bit once in a while to help them understand that you can do this. You know how to do this. I was going to bring a demonstration today, but in my house, we talk about why things happen, and my sons will say, well, it's not my fault because it was the circumstances, and like trying to explain to me, because I'm the benevolent dictator, why this wasn't their problem. And we say, are you the egg or are you the potato, right? So I was going to bring an egg, but the problem with bringing an egg today, because I live in Orem, the egg is super fragile. There was 0 chance of me getting it down here in one piece. Now, I could have bought one. Again, 0 chance of me getting it up those stairs without it being all over my suit. Egg and potato. What happens when you put them in a pot of boiling water, which is the circumstance? The egg comes out anti-fragile, right? I could have carried a hard-boiled egg with me. The potato, super hard when I put it in. Now it's super mushy, right? It's not because they had different circumstances. It's because of what they're made of. So what are we made of? And how can we make sure that we are making sure that our kids, our community, our students are anti-fragile? Because the reality is, there is a new normal, right? Was it Dara that said, get used to different, right? We have to get used to different because the world has changed, and it's changed fast this time. We need to embrace disruption. We need to learn how to run to it. We need to make failure respectable, because most of the mistakes that I've made, I've learned more from than any of my successes. Every entrepreneur that you'll meet will say, well, I failed so many times, and it wasn't until the 100th time or until I had this weird mistake happen. Most of the medical advances were by rare accidents. Think about penicillin, right? It was just like, left it out over the weekend. Oh my goodness, what is this alien? Oh, it turns out it's the greatest medicine that we ever could figure out, right? A lot of wonderful things came from mistakes, from accidents, but for whatever reason in our culture, it's a problem to make mistakes. No, we want people to fail and fail fast and be self-healing and recover and learn from it. We want to make it okay for people to make mistakes. We need to mine when they have problems. We need to figure out how can we take those disruptions and turn them into great things? How can we turn them into wonderful opportunities for our future? Last night I was thinking about, okay, what are some of the mistakes that happened? Post-it notes were a mistake. It was a failed project because we needed something super sticky. Like, this isn't sticky, it just peels off, it comes back. There's an entire wall of Target Post-it notes, $5 for like 4 little sticky things, right? That's a whole business that's been around for a ton of years. Wheaties, right? Making this gruel, flip that onto the stove, dry it up, cereal, right? There's so many things that are now part of what we do we didn't even think about. So how can we embrace disruption? How can we run to disruption? How can we not be afraid of change? How can we be anti-fragile in that, look, we're going to use this as an opportunity for better. We're going to do more things with it. And this will help Utah lead the way, because the world is crazy now, right? My boys, we talk about this all the time. We have a shout out culture because of social media. People with not that much to say or not great things to say can throw it out on social media and everybody gets called out. People are afraid to stand up because they could lose their job, because we don't hold each other accountable. But what if we decided that Utah, we're different. We're going to lead the way in more ways than one. We're going to build an anti-fragile community. We're going to build an anti-fragile state. We're going to use the assets that we have to make sure that we get everyone there. That not only are we poised for unity, but that we're going to make sure that our brothers and sisters all across the state benefit from all the goodness that we have. And that if anyone's suffering or struggling, we're all going to feel it. That we're going to show what it means to have the principle of humanity as part of who we are. That because we're anti-fragile, we can make sure that we're kind to each other, that we don't get sucked into the shout out culture, but instead we kindly take someone aside and give them feedback. That we don't get sucked into the maw of all this mash around us. It's not good. That we are a charitable organization as a state, that we care about people, and that it doesn't hurt us to be kind. It doesn't hurt us to go and find that person that's struggling, that didn't learn to be anti-fragile, that has some struggles, and that we're going to get them all there. Because I'm super proud of this state. I didn't grow up here, but I landed here and I stayed here. And there's so many great things about what we can do. For me, there's no such thing as rural Utah. It's all Utah. And in one of my quotes, I said, you know that Lehi used to be considered rural Utah, right? It's a place where Kevin Bacon made a movie once. And now it's this really vibrant place that has traffic problems, I might add. But every part of our state can realize its potential based on what's important for that part of our state. And so I'm determined to make sure we get there one student at a time. I'm determined we get there one program at a time. And I'm determined that we all can embrace this new, it's going to be different, but that we all can contribute to each other. You teach us, we teach you, we teach each other, and that we become and stay anti-fragile. So thank you.